Okay, so when we are designing for a website, we can work directly in Photoshop. We can work directly in Photoshop. And what I want to do in this video is get all ready and actually create a header in Photoshop. Now, the web is a dynamic, constantly changing place. 5 years ago, when I was designing websites and teaching students how to design websites, the standard resolution was 800 by 600. And this is the standard resolution of monitors, but we all know that over the course of the last couple years, the technology gets better and better, and the resolution gets clearer and clearer. So this has major repercussions for how we design on the web. So let's begin. Let's figure out today, and it's 2011. It's actually September 2011. The standard resolution of a monitor in the United States is 1280 by 800. Now, but we got to remember too that this is the World Wide Web that we're designing for. So our site may end up being viewed by somebody in India or Korea or Japan. Okay. And probably, so who knows, right? What is the standard resolution? And it's something that we need to constantly continue to research and keep ourselves up to date on. The standard resolution today is 1280 by 800 and also 1024 by 768. So those are our two standards. Now, as we look here too, where do we find these? And I can tell you what my resolution is set for. So I come to System Preferences, and I take a look, and I can see my desktop and my screensaver. Okay, hold on, I'm sorry. Hold on for 1 minute. Let me get this. Actually, I'm sorry. What I want to see this is the displays. So even on your own monitor, you can, take a look and change it around and view your websites and see how they look. So I'm going to go to 1280 by 800. This is what my screen is set on. So then I'm going to come into Photoshop and I'm going to create a file, and I'm going to actually do a page layout of my site. Now, when we are working in the web, we want to be in RGB. Okay, we want to stay in RGB. That is the color model of our, that is the color model that we'll work with on the web, and it's the color model of our monitors. Okay, so I'm going to web page layout. I'm going to name this web page layout, and I'm going to make my color transparent. Okay, and I'm going to change this from inches to pixels. Okay, and I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna change my workspace. I'm gonna go down to, when we work in the web, we want our resolution to be at about 72. And I could up this a little bit, so I'm gonna go to 150 just because I don't want to lose any clarity of how things look. Although, we could go to 100. Why not? Okay, so then I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna put my width at 1280, and I am going to put my height at 800, and I'm going to hit OK, and here it comes. Okay, so this is my web page. Here we are. I'm at 50%. I'm going to zoom in to, well, I can zoom in a little bit if I want to. Now, what I can do now is I'm going to create a header for my site. This is my standard page. Okay, so here we have it. We have this all laid out. We have it at the proper resolution. We can zoom in a little bit, and here it is much smaller. So we think of this as a standard web page. Again, if it was 100%, it would fill my monitor, but we're going to work at this a little bit smaller. So let's actually think about our header. Okay, and what we might want to do, why would we want to create our heading in here? Well, one of the reasons why we may want to do that is because we might want to work with a really funky type, or we may want to put an image within here. All right, so let's say that I want to work with a different kind of type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in to type, okay, and I'm going to open up my palette so I can work a little bit more with my type. Okay, and let's actually choose a different type of font. Let's see what we have here. Something good. Hold on. Okay, so I want to go with a font that's going to just give me a header. I have it all in caps. Maybe I wanted to even come in and change the color. Now, this is an important thing. When you go to change a color, you need to make sure that you are choosing from web colors. All right, so I'm just going to go with, let's go with like a dark gray. So I'm going to say OK. There we have it. Web design is what I want right up here. Now, if I wanted to also, I could add a little line underneath here. So let me do that now. I'm going to come in. I'm going to grab my type again, and I am going to click right here. I am going to change the size to maybe 18, and I am going to work with two different types. So I'm going to put, what am I doing here? Dreamweaver, HTML, CSS, and more. Okay, so there is my line saying within my header, okay, what it is that we're going to be doing. So I have web design, okay, I come up, I click on to this one, Dreamweaver, HTML, CSS, and more. So I could say this is the header of my page. Now, the reason why I have kept this transparent, whenever we see this grid here, I want to keep this transparent because I want to do my color in Dreamweaver. I want to do my color in Dreamweaver. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to actually take this header, I want to save it and get ready to put this header into my Dreamweaver index page. So what am I going to do? Well, when we work with the web, we are going to want to come up and we're going to work with the slice tool. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in and I am going to slice this. Now, I'm going to actually slice the whole thing though. I'm going to just slice this whole thing just because when we work in the web, we really want to think that we are working, look at the web as being a grid, the way that we have to lay it out and the way that the monitors will read the images that we put in. We want to always think of it as a grid, okay? So here's my first part of my grid. I have a horizontal, a rectangle. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to save this for the web now. I'm going to come to File, and I'm going to go to Save for Web and Devices. Now, this is important. When it's a JPEG, can you see that a JPEG will automatically have this white around it? So what I need to do is I need to make sure I can have my transparency. So I'm going to do a PNG, and another transparent is a GIF. Okay, let's go for the PNG 24, and we have the GIF. Now, I need to make sure I have the transparency checked. Okay, we can see that my whole image size is 1280 by 800. Okay, now I'm just going to save this part right here. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this one right here. I have my next page. Okay, and I want to say images only and just my selected slices. Let me make sure I want to just select the one. Okay, I just want this one selected. Okay, so that one is selected. I took this slice select tool, okay, and I selected this one. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to save it in, I'm going to actually go and find my site that I created. Okay, so I created this site which was called Web Design. Okay, and here is my thing, web page layout PNG. Now what I could do is I could name this header. Okay, and I only want my selected slices. I only want my images. Now, you could save the entire page, okay? And then you could actually, put the page right in, but we're gonna just focus in on the image because really the best thing is to go and lay the whole thing out in Dreamweaver. Default settings, we'll keep our default settings, okay? And we'll hit save. Bum, bada, bum. And there we have it. Now let's go and let's take a look at this image. I'm going to go find it, and I'm going to come on in and see where it is. Again, I need to, remember the journey back to this image. And what happens is Photoshop, when you save for web, will automatically create an images folder. And I come right here, and here I have my header 01 PNG, and the size, I'm going to write the size down because when I come into Dreamweaver next, I want to know my size. My size is 1280 by 108. So there we have it. Let's take a look next at how we're going to open up this header in Dreamweaver. Okay, what I've done is I've come back to Dreamweaver. I've opened back up my index page. And what I can see here is that image that I just created in my images folder. I can see my header right here. I can see it right there, and it's a Photoshop image. Okay, now what I want, something I did in Photoshop, we also can see it in here as fireworks. Fireworks works very much like Photoshop does also, but this is my PNG image. I wrote down that it's 1280 by 108. Now what I want to do is I want to insert this header into my web page. So what am I going to do next? Okay, first thing I want to do is I want to come to CSS, okay, and I want to come to page properties. Okay, now CSS is cascading style sheets. And what we can do with our CSS is we can, what's great about CSS is we can, in one place of our page, we have a sheet. It's an actual sheet that's attached to our code, and it gives directions that can apply to all of the pages. So we can change the color of our site all in one file. So if we have 5 pages and we want to change color, we can do it in one place through our CSS versus having to go into every page. Okay, so I'm going to come into Appearance, and I'm just going to choose a background color. Now, here are some in here. We can click right here. We can look at it differently. Continuous tone. We can click right in here. Okay, we can say, change things around a little bit. There's a lot of different ways that we can choose the colors that we are going to get in here. Okay, so we could even, change the brightness a little bit. Well, let's take a look at some other ways that we can access our colors. Now, another thing, if you have a color that you want to use that's a web safe color, you can actually get that color directly from Photoshop. All right, so I'm going to hit apply, and there we can see it. I have my color. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to insert my header, but before we do that, what we want to do is we want to insert it inside a div tag. Again, the web is very much based on grids, and we want to put everything within a very strong grid just so when someone opens it up on their page, we know that it's going to read. We want it to read properly. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come to another window. We're going to come to the insert window. And my insert window is on. Let me turn it. All right, there. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, here's my insert window. Here it is. And we can see we want to just go to Common. Okay, and we want to come to Insert Div Tag. Okay, and I'm going to say at insertion point. Now, what does that mean? Well, when I go into, I'm going to hit cancel for 1 minute. When I come right into here, we can see, and I have, this is my, I erased this. I had this before. Let me erase this. I'm going to get rid of some of that extra code. And here's my insertion point. It's right underneath body. Now this becomes a lot of times more important when we are, we have a lot of different elements on a page that might actually become something we want to make sure that our cursor is in the proper place. Okay, so let's go back. We're going to insert a div tag, okay, and I am going to say at insertion point, I'm going to give this an ID. I'm going to say header, and I am going to create a new CSS rule. Okay, now what I need to do now, though, this is called header, is I'm going to make a new style sheet. I'm going to say okay, and I'm going to name this style sheet web design. Now this will be webdesign.css. Okay, now what I want to do, and you can see you have all of these different rules. I could even change the color of my background if I wanted to. Okay, now I'm not putting in, this is just going to be for the header. Okay, so what I want to do, I could be really specific, and there's a couple different ways that we can do this, and I'll go over how to do this as a liquid layout. Okay, what I'm going to say is I want this to be a box. I'm going to put in my width. My width is going to be 1280 pixels, and my height is going to be 108 pixels. Okay, and we'll put a margin. Okay, we want from the top, we don't want a margin from the top, right? We don't want any padding either. But we could do, let me unclick same for all. At the right, I could say I want a 5% margin. At the left, I want a 5% margin. Now, when we work with percentages, what will happen, and percentages are a good way to work, is because no matter what the resolution is, it will always account for that. And that's actually creating a liquid layout. So I'm going to hit apply. Okay. Say okay. All right, so here's my header. There it is. Okay, and I can see I have this 5% margin here, and if I scroll over, I have a 5% margin here. But now what I'm going to do is I am going to insert my image. So I can come to Insert, Image, and I can come into my Images folder, and I can grab my header, and I can choose. Now, what I want to do is do my alternate text. And why do we want to do this? Well, again, we want to look at our website being accessible to all people. So if someone has a visual disability and they have a screen reader, or this is the information that they'll get, okay, or if they can't read but they're on the web, they could actually have a voice tell them this. So I'm going to put here, and whatever you want to put, I'm going to put web design. Okay, because that's what it says, so that's what I'm going to put. I'm going to hit OK. Voila, and my image is right there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to Design View. Okay, and this sometimes happens, right? I need to get rid of this. Sometimes that happens. And now I am going to view it. So let's view it on the web. Preview in Firefox. Of course, we need to save it. Yes. And here we have it. Web design, Dreamweaver, HTML, CSS, and more. Again, here we can see my 5% margin. Now, what's great is that this 5%, what we'll see is it will adjust. And this is not really, I'll show you liquid layout more as we move forward. But what's good about doing something like that is the size will adjust based on percentages with your monitor. So there we have it. Thanks for listening.